Hey closers, Maxwell here from Helpmeclose.com. Today on the Help Me Close Sales School, I got a special guest, Jordan Barta, who is the host of the SalesHackerChat, which happens every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Jordan is also an individual contributor who is in the trenches every single day doing sales. He's not out there teaching theory or giving people just good suggestions, but Jordan is actually out there every single day in the field practicing what he's learning. And so you do not want to miss this as I talk to Jordan about how he's been able to develop a personal brand, how he became the host of the Sales Hacker Chat, and also how he's using social selling on a daily basis to help him close more deals. So stay tuned and check out this conversation with Jordan Barta. Hey closers, Maxwell here, Helpmeclose.com. So today I have Jordan Barta on the video chat with us. Jordan is a business consultant for Paychex. He's an outside sales rep, along with being the Twitter host for the Sales Hacker Chat, which you've seen, I'm sure, it's every Tuesday. That right,
Yep.
Jordan?
9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Okay, so yeah, if you're on Twitter, be sure to check it out. It's hashtag SalesHackerChat at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. How you doing, Jordan?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, we're excited. For those of you who are joining us on this video, just so you know a little bit background, me and Jordan have been playing tag for the last, seems like a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
He is a busy man, hard guy to get a hold of, and that's because he's out there closing deals. So we're really grateful to have him here with us, taking some time. But Jordan, how did you end up in sales?
It kind of just took the course and went that way. My first job, I originally after college was playing sports overseas, and when I first came home, I picked up a role in account management. And there was some small upsell potential, but then joined an organization called Cornerstone, which had a lot more structure in inside sales, business development. And then slowly, once I kind of maximized that avenue, then I wanted the next role to be outside, more responsibility. I've now been at Paychex for about a year and a half. So it went from business development, cold calling all the time, to more outside sales stuff now. I still hit the phones and whatnot, but that's where I am today.
Awesome. And one thing that I've been able to observe and notice about you, Jordan, is you've done a great job with your personal brand. Can you take us through that journey? What started and triggered that concept of, I need to start developing this personal brand?
Good question. So January of last year, 2016, I had picked up the book from a reference from Coca Sexton told me to pick up Jim Keenan's book, Not Taught. And basically the whole book was an aha moment. And basically you need to have a digital landscape so people know you're real, you're authentic. And so that was the beginning of really everything, my personal branding, the writing, trying to not only brand my company, but brand myself as a thought leader and whatnot. And then kind of moving forward, the Keenan makes a great quote, is there's a huge difference between expertise and experience. You can be an expert in something regardless of your age and still have a really strong opinion. So not getting stuck in the rut of, I don't know, I'm only a couple years out of college, or, I haven't been in sales for 10, 15 years. I haven't climbed the ladder. Not allowing that to minimize the thought of you can do more regardless of your age. I mean, that's just how it came about. Once I changed my mindset, it was just a matter of doing the right things to get to the next level.
Absolutely. And I haven't had the opportunity to read that book, Not Taught, but I've heard many good things about it. But yeah, in my personal journey, I had that kind of similar aha moment. And I'm sure others, especially millennials who are watching and listening to this, are having that aha moment of, I want to share my voice, share my opinion, and develop into this thought leader. But a lot of them don't know where to start. Where did you start? So you're reading the book, you have this aha moment throughout the book, you realize you need to develop this personal brand. Where did you start doing that?
So I actually started with Jim Keenan's book. I started writing kind of like, and I call it, my site's called the aha moment, just for people that don't have the time to read or don't make the time to read. These are the little nuggets out of 5 chapters. You get 4 aha moments, what I thought were valuable takeaways. So I started small. I started with sales specific books. Then I worked kind of in motivation, leadership, some management stuff. And then earlier this year, about the new year, couple really exciting, just personal things taking place, getting engaged and buying a home. I realized that why limit myself to the aspect of sales? Why go down this one specific pathway when I can open up the conversation to other areas? So that's where I'm starting to jump into things that can specifically relate to my day job, human capital management stuff, kind of life hacks around dietary stuff. Eventually I'll get into maybe fitness and health, because that's always been a passion of mine as well. But it all started with a small idea, and I listened to, talked to all of the other experts, and kind of created my own voice and took their, what they had to say, and kind of make my own path based on what they said. So, and I think everybody should do that personally.
Yeah, I agree. I believe everybody should be doing that. They should be out there reading books, seeking mentors, getting, learning from blogs, from videos, whatever source they can find. They should be finding it and internalizing it, and then in their own way, taking what they're learning and making it their own, which is what you've done with your site. With what is that website? If you could say that again.
Well, it's my name, jordanbarta.com. But I call it the aha moment, just because, when you're reading something, you're like, wow, that's a really good idea. Or in sales, you're pitching somebody, you're like, wow, that makes sense. You get that aha moment, and it's kind of all over from there. Obviously you have to put something into action and follow through, but that's just the beginning.
So going back to the beginning, you're reading the book, you have the aha moments, then you started a blog, and you started reading books and writing what you were learning, basically curating content and sharing your voice.
Yep.
So, and now you're hosting these Sales Hacker Twitter chats. That's a big deal. How did you go from doing this, your personal blog, to now you are the face of Sales Hacker on Twitter, running these Sales Hacker chats?
The social selling is something that I really enjoy talking about, but that kind of goes along with the personal branding and marketing yourself. And Jack Kazakowski and Gabe Vilmazar were 2 guys that I had looked for to help me create my voice. And out of the blue, Jack's like, hey, we got a task for you. You want to give it a shot? And so he introduced me to Max and Sales Hacker and said, we're looking to help rebrand the Twitter side and have a daily chat to where, it's more conversational. And so that's how that kind of presented itself. But the tenfold that what the Hacker Chats brought too is it's given me the opportunity to collaborate and to have conversations with all of these people that, like Jill Conrath. I talked to Jill Conrath on the phone for 30 minutes prior to having a chat. It's just, that just doesn't happen out of the blue. You can't just call an expert up and go, hey, want to talk? There, obviously the brand association Sales Hacker has with the value that we can give the guests, it just kind of builds everybody up. It's rewarding.
Absolutely. So let's focus on that. Let's extract that, because I feel like these are some key points that people who want to develop a personal brand, who want to be connecting with experts, and maybe connecting with mentors. I know that when I first started, I had this limiting mindset of, I have no value to bring to them. What can I do? Why would this person talk to me? And
Right.
I think the what changed was I started realizing that that wasn't true, that, I can bring value, and you're bringing value by having this platform of, your Twitter chats. And so
Mhm.
basically by partnering up with Sales Hacker, you now have some form of value to bring to these experts, to these influencers, to where you're able to then make a personal connection, um, which is just fantastic. That is, to me, networking at its finest, is having that give and
Yeah.
take. So way to go there. Um,
No, thank you.
so as you've embarked on this journey, been developing your personal brand, been doing the thing with Sales Hacker, and really been diving into social selling, how has social selling changed your uh, I guess your day to day in sales?
Mhm. Good question. There's kind of a two approach. So when I was at my previous organization, I was selling to larger companies, so 5,000 employee on up enterprise. And social selling gave me the opportunity to connect with all of these people, that are remote, with the help of the phone, cold calling, and email, and it helped me to get in front of them. So my meetings that I set, I was getting better quality meetings, and I was getting more of them, which ultimately helped me in the long run. Also, from the non-work related side, it allowed me to grow my network. My reach gets bigger every time I share something. More and more people see it or like it or comment on it, so there's more feedback, which is always great. But from the personal side too, of there's always somebody hiring. So not that I'm not happy in my role or I wasn't happy in my past role. It's just now people can see me, and it's just a reoccurring, like, hey, I see your face online all the time. You've got to be a specialist in something you do. So it's helped in that role to help build credibility. Obviously, the image that you portray online um, needs to also portray the image that you are offline. It happens to people where
Mm.
they get caught up in the buzz of social media, and everything else isn't going well. So I make a point to make sure that my online life is the exact same as my offline life. From a standpoint of day-to-day operations, although LinkedIn has changed their user interface and it's not nearly as friendly anymore, it's just additional information that I can pull from another source to help create the conversation and give them value right away. So knowing that somebody wrote an article and I think it's relevant to X, Y, and Z can help me offer valuable assistance, rather than, hey, are you doing your yearly review? Please consider me. Oh, I'll save you money. So when it comes to working with organizations, I can see quite a few things. And because one of the pieces of software I sell is an applicant tracking system. When I'm following recruiters and when I'm following business HR people, whenever they post a job online, I know right away if they're outsourcing. So it's pretty easy for me to go, well, you're not. You have a send me your resume here. Well, why can't you use a tool to streamline that that's relatively inexpensive? So that also helps, gives me a little bit of transparency into their technology landscape.
So, sometimes I think that when people hear that term social selling, they think it's um, selling things online, basically, or selling something over LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever it is. But what you're saying is, really it's not that. It's using social to better understand your prospect, to better understand your customer, to better understand their pain points, and see opportunities within their organization from a social perspective, uh, that you can bring value and contribute.
Yep, exactly.
So,
With
uh,
with
sorry. So I want to ask, because because I think, a lot of people who are going to be watching this and listening, maybe they don't have a website, maybe they don't have, their a platform to, give a expert or to give a leader a voice. How can they bring value to their prospects from social?
Yeah, good question. Posting content on LinkedIn, being a publisher. Now the other platform that's making some waves is BB. It's also another area for people to read stuff and to kind of build up a following. Depending on what industry they are, what industry they're in, leveraging what other main is, for me, it's going to be SHRM, the Society of Human Resources. I'm going to go pull an article from that site, go, wow, that's a really great article. I'm going to send it to a prospect, or tag them on LinkedIn, send it to them via Twitter, and just say, hey, what do you think about this? I'm just curious, from your perspective. If they're getting socially active on Twitter, just retweeting and liking the thought leaders' tweets helps build their credibility. I share and try and share anyone's, and like, wow, that's really good information. If you were following me, I would hope that would be something, you would want to read as well. If you're trying to engage with a specific person, a decision maker at a company, wherever they're sharing on, if they are. You also have to understand, if they're not socially active, then you can't try and do social selling. You got to go maybe a little bit more old school. Not that cold calling's old school, but you might have to go knock on their door, show up, or send them something in the mail. It's not for every account. And I think that's one big misunderstanding, is that you can't just get online and close business, or you can't look up a CEO on Facebook and hope to begin a dialogue that way. It doesn't work that way. You have to know your account. You have to know your buyer, for the most part, where they do their research. Because I've had lots of prospects that literally ask in the payroll LinkedIn group, who's the next best thing? And then 30 salespeople comment, and it's just who can throw the lowest price on there. So people are willing to ask those questions. But if you're actively and socially engaged with that person prior to them asking, you might already have built your business case prior to them doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love your point, where social isn't for everybody. It's social selling that's kind of become like this buzzword where, it's the cool thing to do. The cool kids are doing it. It's sleek, it's sexy, all that. So everybody, people want to jump on the bandwagon almost. But at the end of the day, social selling isn't for everybody. And I think, to your point, you really have to know your prospect. You really have to know your customer. And something that I've learned and heard Lee Bartlett say is, he would always say, start whenever you have an issue, go to the customer. So go to your prospect, go to your customer, and from there, reverse engineer where they're getting their information. So, go to your customer, ask them where are you getting your information from? If they say Twitter, start going on Twitter. If they say LinkedIn, go on LinkedIn. But they might not. They might tell you a completely different source that isn't on social media. And that's where you should be going to create a presence, to build your brand up.
Yep. Yeah, and a lot of it too can dictate what industry you sell in, what the employee count is. Because for instance, if I walk into a 50-man company down the street and they're in manufacturing, I can almost guarantee that they don't have a LinkedIn profile and none of their employees are active online. So that account in my system says, no social activity. And I'm not going to spend any time trying to research them online other than going to their website, which is probably outdated. I'm going to hit the phones, I'm going to send emails, and I'm going to knock on the door.
Absolutely. And another thing that you can do too is, maybe your direct client isn't on social, but maybe one of their partners is on social. What I mean by that is if you're working with a factory, maybe one of their suppliers is on social, and you can then
Yep.
use that to create a relationship with the supplier who then can introduce you directly to the manufacturer.
Yep.
So they
Yeah,
have,
it's a small world.
it really is. And I think, with social, using it properly as a tool, it's limitless what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the things that you've done specifically on social that you've seen to work especially well and to be really effective? In other words, what are some do's that everybody should be doing on social?
I think you should always take a positive thing from someone's LinkedIn profile and leverage that in making your phone call or your email. I had a crazy response rate of like 40% whenever I titled the email LinkedIn or like impressive LinkedIn, patting them on the back. Hey, I saw this on your profile, thought this would interest you, or thought this article would make sense based on your experience. Get them curious, get them excited, kind of pat them on the back, let them know that you're there and you see them. And then not always doing the ask right away, more of a, hey, I'm going to check in with you in a couple weeks, or I'm going to stop on by just to say hi. I'm a local, face to the organization. So if you try and create more of a friendly approach rather than just, hey, are you free? Let's talk. Twitter, if I engage with a prospect via Twitter, it'll try and go in as soft as possible. Not, hey, you got time to talk? Trying to find a way to provide a little bit of value. And there's that silly word, but give them something before I ask for something in return. Go and look to see who else they're following or what they're retweeting. Know what makes them tick or what they like to do. Maybe they like hikes and you just went on a really good hike. Hey, thought you'd find this really interesting. Because in my space, and depending on what size the company is, more often than not, people switch every couple of years, or they really like the person that they are working with and don't want to switch. So if you can create the relationship, and obviously the technology has to meet their needs, you can have a long and prosperous partnership between organizations. But I think it does change a little bit based on technology space and size of the company.
Yeah, there's no, I guess, silver bullet or magic formula. You really have to know your space and, become an expert, and then take these tools that you and I are talking about, these examples, and apply them so that they fit in your space. Yep. Basically.
Yeah. Awesome. Every case is a little different.
Yeah, 100%. That is, definitely true. So I liked how you mentioned that you've got a good response rate when in the subject line you say, oh, liked your LinkedIn profile or liked this. Are you sending that email to them through InMail on LinkedIn, or you're connecting with them and then getting their email address? Walk me through that beginning process of how you connect with them and then take that conversation to the next step.
I'll usually have their email address already, or look in my Salesforce to see what the first initial last name, and send them an email on the fly. Most people, if you're a normal LinkedIn user, you probably get 10 profile views a week, maybe 1 or 2 a day. So if you get a voicemail from me and you get an email and then you see that I popped up on your LinkedIn profile, I've just had 3 touches in the last couple of days. At some point, they've got to have curiosity. I mean, when anyone looks at my profile, I'm like, "Ooh, who are you? What do you do? Oh, you're a recruiter. Oh, you're in this line of work." So I usually send that email via email. It can work through InMail as well, but to keep in mind, you want to keep it short and sweet, because most people are now looking at stuff on their phone. So if someone gets a message in their email, or no, in mail, you don't want them to throw you out right away.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I think sometimes when we send emails, we tend to overthink them and we try to make them wordy, and they get overcomplicated. But I think the best email, especially when it's, your first touch, is there's nothing wrong with putting one sentence in the subject line, and just saying, this is what I'm doing. Are you interested? Question mark. If they're interested, they'll respond, and you just start having, it's almost like using email as a text message, and just keeping it simple and then building that relationship. Well, thank you so much, Jordan, for being with us today. Before I let you go, what are some don'ts for people to do on social?
Oh gosh, don't connect and pitch. Don't, the worst is if someone asks a question, they want an opinion about a product. Don't be the sales guy that goes on and says, hey, look at me. This is cool. And this is great. Pitch your product right away. You don't bash the competition on social. I mean, you can take an article and send it to a prospect or a client and just say, hey, just making sure you're not experiencing these type of situations, but blatantly bashing the competition. Be careful with the hashtags you use on Twitter. I know that one's, you can get in trouble that way, depending on the company policy they have with social. Just be smart.
Just be smart, be wise, think twice, check your typing, make sure you don't have any typos. There's some great tools for that these days if you're on computer. Sure. Grammarly is a big one that I use because I'm infamous for having typos. If you follow me on social, you'll probably see me like tweet or post something on LinkedIn and have to delete it and then redo it 2 or 3 times.
It happens.
And Jordan, also, where can people watching this and listening to this, where can they get more Jordan Barta?
JordanBarta.com. Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter. I try to respond. Well, everything that comes in on LinkedIn, I respond to. So if it's an email or a message, if it's a recruiter, I tell them thanks but no thanks, or check back with me in 6 months. One of the products I previously sold at Cornerstone was about employee engagement, and so I always feel that as much as it's our job to do a great job for our organization also needs to do a great job to keep us. And our generation got the bad rap that we have high turnover, we're always jumping ship, all the things that are wrong with Millennial, but sometimes it's okay to say, well, you got to hope that your company also sticks up to you. So I respond to everybody. But Twitter and LinkedIn are probably the best.
Perfect. And then I'll include, your LinkedIn and also your Twitter handle in the show notes here so people can follow there. And also be sure to check out the Sales Hacker Chat on Twitter every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Tons of value, great content on there. Jordan's been doing a great job hosting that. So be sure to tune into that. Well, thank you, Jordan. We appreciate it. Any last words?
Don't be afraid to push the envelope. It's okay. You're 1 year out of college or trying to figure out what you want to do. Just go for it. Everything's a learning experience. So I think that's been the most beneficial mindset that I've had.
I second that. Thanks again, Jordan. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Max.
So there you have it, closers. My conversation with Jordan Barta. I hope that you were able to pick up a few pointers from my conversation with Jordan. The key to everything that you learn is being able to execute. If we were able to execute just a fraction of what we study and what we know, we would be at least 10 times more productive. So again, take action. Write down what you've learned, set some goals, and take action. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please give me the thumbs up or leave a comment. I look forward to seeing you next week on the Help Me Close Sales School. And as always, keep closing.